I feel like the film is a question and an open-ended question that the audience is free to answer. In other words, do you want to live in a world like this, that's this combustible, or not?
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. In this episode, a what-if scenario for a U.S. government response to an inbound ICBM is explored in director Kathryn Bigelow's political thriller, A House of Dynamite. The film explores a hypothetical situation when a radar station detects a single unattributed ICBM headed for Chicago. How do the many levels of the U.S. government use their limited time to identify who is responsible, attempt to disable the warhead, and, in the worst-case scenario, consider severe retaliatory options? In addition to A House of Dynamite, Bigelow's other directorial credits include the feature films K-19 The Widowmaker, Strange Days, Point Break, Near Dark, and Detroit, and episodes of the series Homicide: Life on the Street. She was nominated for the DGA Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Feature Film for her 2012 feature Zero Dark 30, and won in the same category for her 2008 feature, The Hurt Locker. Following a screening of the film at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles, Bigelow spoke with director James Gray about filming A House of Dynamite. Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
I know this is not traditional where we're supposed to walk out together, but I wanted to say a brief thing about this person who made the movie. One of the great treats about some people considering you a movie director is that you get to meet a lot of amazing people. And I'm very lucky in that way. And 25 years ago, I met Kathryn Bigelow, and I've been very good friends with her ever since. And it's been a great joy in my life to know her. So with that and this remarkable film that we just saw, I'm going to introduce to you one of the world's great directors, Kathryn Bigelow.
You are too kind. Thank you.
You're welcome. I have this list, which I wrote up, but I wrote it and I realized that my handwriting is incredibly shaky, because I wrote them after I saw the film, which is the scariest movie of all time. I want to start with a banal question, which hopefully will lead us to something that I think is very great about the movie. I want to know about the genesis of it and whether you commissioned the script to be written for you, or whether it was a script that came to you, or whether an article, or like, how did it come to be? Because it's going to lead somewhere, hopefully.
Well, it started with a question. What would happen if a nuclear ICBM was headed toward North America? Like what would, what are the alerts? What are the protocols? What's the procedure if something like that were to happen? I know there's test launches, but in this case, it was something more serious than just a test launch. So I was digging around trying to find the answer to that, and I stumbled over a wonderful journalist / screenwriter, Noah Oppenheim, who's kind of a subject matter expert in this space. And so we started talking, just spitballing this story. And I wanted to do it in real time. And the launch from the Pacific to North America would be 18 or 19 minutes. So that precluded a feature. But then it actually made sense to begin to look at this from more perspectives. So first it's, you kind of go up the chain of command to finally the decision maker being the president, starting with missile defense, White House Situation Room, the Pentagon, and then the president. So
we're going out of order now, you see. This is screwing up my list. I presume that all of that, it's not Rashomon, that's the wrong word, but the wrong reference, but the multiple points of view concept, but that was not editorial. That was baked in the cake.
That was baked in the cake, exactly.
So where I wanted to take this in that kind of multiple point of view narrative is I don't think Dr. Strangelove or Failsafe are analogous because it's a very democratic movie filled with love, weirdly, because I love all those people. They're really competent. And it has grandeur and majesty because of that. They're not schmucks, idiots, losers, zeros, ineptitude, going berserk. I mean, I don't know whether this was an intention of yours right from the beginning, but there's compassion for the people in the picture. And it becomes transcendent for that reason. This is not really a question. I'm just basically telling Kathryn she's great. But I mean, this must have been in the DNA, the basic competency, and it doesn't matter because the system is going to overwhelm them.
Exactly. And it's the failure of, in a way, the system.
Yeah.
That is, the weak link. But what was important to me was the humanity. That's what's at stake. I mean, so backing up to why was I interested in a nuclear ICBM heading toward America had to do with the fact that we are surrounded by over 12,000, if the count is correct, nuclear weapons. Yeah. Right now, we're living with them all around us. 9 nuclear countries, only 3 are members of NATO. So that's a calculus that I find kind of unnerving. And I grew up in an era where I had to hide under my desk in case of an atomic blast, which of course would do a lot of good. And so, here you are crawling under your desk wondering, what am I doing here? So that kind of stays with you. And then now I think that the whole idea of a nuclear engagement has kind of become normalized. Nobody talks about it. It's kind of the unthinkable. Like it's the elephant in the room, but you're not going to talk about it. And there are generations that know nothing about this. And my hope was to kind of start a conversation and, maybe the reduction of the nuclear stockpile might be part of that conversation, but at the very least, non-proliferation.
Yeah. It's funny you say this because I showed my now 16-year-old, Dr. Strangelove, and he didn't quite get it. I think it was the Cold War dialectic he didn't understand. And he came with me this morning to see your film, and it scared the hell out of him. He got it completely. And I think it's because of the engagement with the characters is a totally different order of business in your picture. I want to, this is a trade question, but I feel the need, I have absolutely no idea how you direct movies. I want to know the day at work for Kathryn Bigelow, because it doesn't look like you stage anything. I mean, I know it's staged, but what the hell's going on there? Because it's like, it looks all found, and yet I know it isn't. And I'm inept, and I don't know how to do that. And I want you to teach me how to do that. So can you explain how you're doing? I mean, because it seems found in the shooting of it. And I know Barry Ackroyd, your cinematographer, was also one of the operators, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you talk me through how you work that out on a daily basis? Because I'm clueless.
Well, that's a great compliment, because that's what I try to make it feel like. It's just very spontaneous and sort of unraveling in the moment. But Barry shoots where he'll light the entire set. Like we have these 3 sets, Fort Greely, White House Situation Room, Stratcom, and they're completely lit. We don't use marks, and the actor basically must come in and do their job. Doesn't matter where the camera is. It doesn't matter where, other than they have to, I guess they're placed where they're placed that their job would dictate. And we have technical advisors who work with us on that and all the sort of details of their day. But there's no marks, and we just, and there's 3 cameras going, or 4 simultaneously, except in Stratcom, at one point there was 24, because there's a lot of digital cameras everywhere because of the teleconference. But yeah, it's a very fluid process. And I kind of discovered that with Hurt Locker, with Barry, who also shot that. And And it was brand new to me. And I guess he developed it with Ken Loach. So I was honored to try to, I suppose, walk in those shoes. But no, but it's very freeing for, I mean, at first the actor, like in terms of Hurt Locker, Jeremy was very unnerved because he'd be walking around the Humvee doing a surveillance and there'd be a camera right there. It's okay. Then we do a second take because we also don't block, for Barry doesn't want to see any blocking. It has to be completely like unblocked. He's going to discover it with the camera. It's a little like nature photography, like you want to, where's the cheetah going to come from? Oh, out of that, from behind that bush. You don't know. And so therefore, it's not like this kind of, fake camera movement. It's genuine. So Jeremy would come around, then the camera would be there or not there or whatever. It's kind of confusing. But once they get used to it, I said to Jeremy, your job is to clear 300 meters of this road of any kind of detonation. And that's your job. That's all you have to do. You don't have to worry about the camera. There's no marks. You don't have to worry about the crew. Just do your job. And that's when it kind of sunk in. And for me as well.
I don't, this has not answered any question of mine because I don't understand how any shot is in focus, for example. Like, what do you mean? Nobody has marks or anything? You're just like, oh, go ahead, do that. I mean, how does that work? I feel like you're not telling me something here because if I tried that, it would be like, Jimmy, we got the guys out of focus here. We got to do it again. I mean, every AD I've ever worked with would beat me to death with a billy club if I didn't stage a scene. What are you talking about? I feel like you're not telling me something.
No, it's the way we work. But there are some out of focus bits, but we either tend to use them or not use them. But I don't know, it's sort of like we talked about art a minute ago. It's like the hand is in there. I guess there's a sort of ad hoc precision is what I would call it, as opposed to precision.
Now, you do phone calls in the movie galore. For everyone here who's made pictures, it's weirdly difficult to do that properly because usually you don't have the actors talking to each other, and it's like 3 months later, they're on an ADR stage looping part of the thing. And these all feel...
It's all live.
All live.
All live.
Well, that explains a lot. Talk me through that.
Okay.
How'd you do that one?
So Tracy Letts, General Brady, is...
Wonderful playwright, by the way.
Extraordinary playwright, actor, and screenwriter.
Yeah.
And he's going to address Jared Harris, who's the Secretary of Defense, who's in the teleconference. Well, Jared Harris is actually on a separate stage, maybe 40 feet away, in his own set. And so that's a live communication then projected up onto the screen. So it's almost like a theater piece, actually very much like theater. So it's all happening live.
So you had like a 1950s playhouse director. You had a bunch of monitors? Is that what would happen? You would sit there with each stage, set the camera set up in each stage?
Oh, where I am,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, I saw everything, yeah. But I didn't have...
This actually does explain something. But so when you're cutting the picture, well, I should ask this. I mean, do you edit the movie as you're shooting, or are you one of those people that just collects the footage and then goes to work at the end?
Well, we had a situation here where we ended up with, without being able to start the editor until we finished, just because of schedule and timing, until we finished our shoot. So Kirk Baxter began the minute we wrapped. And what was great was he had never cut a movie from beginning to end before. He always cut in situ and in pieces. And so even though he had read the script and he knew the story, he was frantic trying to get these scenes done, because I said, what are you doing? You're here so late. Yeah, but I want to see what happens. So he was actually kind of evolving it and understanding it while he was cutting it. Wow. But it's like three-dimensional chess, though, trying to kind of keep everything in the right timeline. Like if the Secretary of Defense is talking to his daughter, what's happening? Where's the president? Or where is Fort Greely. In other words, we had a sort of graph of everything, so we could make sure it was very precise. So that was precise. Maybe the shooting was a little fluid, but that was precise.
It is remarkable that you say you discovered this for yourself on Hurt Locker with Barry Ackroyd. But that was far from your first movie. You were very established already. You had this marvelous aesthetic and imprint that you had put out in the world. It's rare to reinvent yourself stylistically in some
Is
point.
it? I mean, I guess I didn't think of it as a reinvention. It just seemed right for a story that was, I guess, journalistic in nature. Because I think I sort of now, anyway, try to work at that intersection of like entertainment and information, or entertainment and journalism.
Yeah.
So it's very important that it feel real, be accurate, and be authentic. And to do that, I think giving the piece a bit alive feel, like making the camera feel alive, making the performance feel like it's happening in front of you in real time, was important.
What kind of prep does this? I mean, like my preps
Sorry,
again.
He just makes me laugh.
She doesn't get out that much. My preps are like sitting down and going over shot lists, and clearly that's not what you're doing.
No, there's no shot list.
Right. So, what is prep? I mean, you're building sets. What are you doing? Like, what are you talking about with Barry Ackroyd for? Like, what's the conversation? Like,
well, you're talking. It's really Barry and Simon Warnock, my first, and myself. So the three of us, and Jeremy Hindle with the set. Right. So looking at the scene, and the four of us talking about how to, what's the best way to go through with this. And also, he's incorporating with Jeremy the lighting in the set itself. So as it's being built, he's basically lighting it in the construction phase of it.
I see.
And Jeremy and I went to Stratcom, so it's very, very, very accurate, by the way, which is important to me. But so it's really a process, like talking it through and being able to see it. I mean, you have to see it before you shoot it. And it's more of I'm not sure how to describe it. It's kind of, it's not like we had some storyboards. We would sort of sketch out how to, how we'd like to handle it. But it's very, you kind of discover it, but you discover it in the moment kind of photography. And it couldn't be done. I mean, it couldn't be a more sort of, I suppose, maybe rigid format, because it's an event that's unfurling in front of you with a tremendous amount of anxiety among the characters because of the story. So it's almost like everything has to feed into that urgency.
Right.
Everything has to be urgent. The set has to be urgent. The lighting has to be urgent. The first AD has to be urgent.
I specialize in boring, so this is all good to me. The films you're talking about authentic, and I actually have been to the White House, and that room is exactly right. It's all the halls and all that. That's exact. I've obviously not been to these other places. I'm presuming they are as well. The film does have tremendous verisimilitude, but it also has a very, and I don't mean this, by the way, as an insult at all, but it has a very movie score. Like the score is very, very movie score.
Yeah.
Which causes an interesting kind of, it's not a disconnect
paradox
at all, but yeah, but it's almost like narrative feature meets, as we were talking about back there, Costa Gavras or Billy Friedkin. It's sort of like an interesting marriage. I mean, what goes into the thought process with the score? Are you thinking I have to play against the documentary angle, or I mean, talk me through that.
Well, I think I sort of felt like, not play against, but that's an interesting way of describing it. But I think that Volker's work is so extraordinary, and trying to identify what's at stake, which is humanity. So in a way, the score is kind of a cry. I don't know. I've really felt like it was a nice envelope in which to put this film. And so it was a nice juxtaposition. And yes, it is kind of a paradox, but I thought there's in a way tension in that, in and of itself.
Of course. Can you talk about the actors? Because it's like like I said, it's like a bunch of really competent, well-meaning people doing their jobs, and the situation is catastrophic anyway. When you're like, what were you looking for in actors when you put this together?
Oh, just again that kind of authenticity. I mean, people that I mean, their talent is so extraordinary, and I knew they could pull it off. But just that a realism. You know, I wanted them to be like General Brady, to be General Brady, but not be a caricature.
Right.
That's the most important thing, that they be solid and real and genuine, like Rebecca running the White House Situation Room. And she is very much like the woman that actually runs the White House Situation Room. And so there is a kind of, I suppose, a visual symmetry there, but I was determined to, at some point, work with Rebecca, and I thought this was a perfect match. And then Idris, I wanted him in Zero Dark 30, but it didn't work out schedule-wise. And so I called him up one day and said, what do you think about being president? He went, what? So he said, I'm not born in America. I said, I know, it's all right. We'll make it work.
I have to ask, was improvisation involved, or is it doing, I mean, he's talking about, Lindor, there's a little shout out from Mets fans, which I liked, Lindor in the All-Star game and all that kind of banal talk.
There's an indication of it in the script, but then Tracy took it a little bit further, and then Idris with the insoles in his shoe, that was a moment that he brought to it. But I love when an actor makes it theirs.
Yeah.
Really embraces it and owns it. And there's a sincerity there in terms of how to play that character.
Do you rehearse with them?
Well, we do a table read, and that's about as close as you get. But you can't, because in this case, every chapter was kind of a discrete, closed-ended casting scheduling process. The schedule was a nightmare. So from everybody's availability, everybody's doing 20 other things. So Stratcom was just Stratcom, just those actors, extras, et cetera, White House Situation, president. So I couldn't rehearse the whole thing. Our table read was sort of in pieces, but it gave you a sense of the cadence of the language. But again, I'll go back to my technical advisors. I had a retired 3-star and a retired 4-star general with us at all times, certainly for the Stratcom sequence. So every movement, every action was really not handled, but kind of vetted by them. Right. And Tracy was free to go to them for, questions like, would I do this? Would I do that? And of course, they would say to him, you're a 4-star general, you can do whatever you want. So,
I mean, okay. But I mean, when you say you want the actor to be real, that doesn't just happen. I mean, you have to.
Well, that's not the direction. I mean,
No, I know that. I mean, what you say to these people.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, that's what works for me. No, but seriously, I want to know like how you work with these people to get that verisimilitude, because that's the hardest thing to do.
Well, so much, I think, was baked into the script. I mean, it's a great piece of writing, just a great piece of writing, and then it's sort of there's that great kind of unquantifiable element that takes over when you're on a set and you're performing and you're directing and you look at it, all right. I mean, there was very little adjustment I needed to make other than sometimes compositionally. I mean, I'd move a camera a little bit or adjust, maybe make a suggestion or two, but it was very beautifully articulated on the page.
Right.
And these are really smart actors. So in that case, they did my job for me.
Dare I ask, was the ending always meant to be open? I don't actually think it's that. Always.
Always, yeah. Because I feel like the film is a question and an open-ended question that the audience is free to answer. In other words, do you want to live in a world like this, that's this combustible, or not?
Yeah, there was I have read pieces, where a wrench fell on an ICBM warhead and dented the top of it and almost caused it to explode, or a nuclear weapon dropped in South Carolina that magically did detonate in 1962, and all of these stories. The 60s films that I just talked about, Failsafe and Dr. Strangelove, they both end very declaratively, obviously. We'll meet again, with the whole world ending. What's that? On the beach, of course. So I found it very bold. I don't think it should piss people off at all. It should be an open question. But I do, you wonder, because people always want resolution.
I know, and I felt like, and both Noah and I felt that it would be too easy to have a bad guy. Like, oh, they launched the missile. They're bad. Let's go bomb them. And then it's all sort of neatly tied up. But, the world isn't like that.
Of course.
Life is messy. And I don't know if the president retaliates or not, or putting the audience in a position, what would you do? That's really it begs that question of everybody who sees it. And that's, my hope is anyway.
Of course, I see the movie and I'm thinking, we'd lose some good art, but, Chicago is not New York. Okay, fine. Lose Chicago and then just stand down. I didn't actually think that, don't worry. But I do wonder, I did say to myself, I would not retaliate. I also said to myself, every goddamn person who was president that we could possibly have would. That's what I thought. Because I thought it's impossible. It's like the system has to perpetuate itself. Of course, they're going to respond. So I do think, with all respect to your magnificent movie, I think it indicates that there's going to be a response. Go ahead, argue with me.
Well, it's definitely, that's what the system is designed to facilitate. But the thing that makes me so concerned, obviously, with nuclear weapons is these are defensive measures. But I don't understand what we're defending if civilization has been annihilated. Right. What are you defending? Like dust? Ooh, there's dust. We're going to keep it there.
No, cockroaches, apparently.
That's
cockroaches.
true.
They do marvelously well.
Right.
With, irradiated, probably the size of a Buick. It's great. Let me ask you this. I have to ask this. I'm sorry, it's maybe impolitic. You screen the film when you're finished for friends and family? Do you have previews? Do you do this kind of thing? And when you did with this, were they angry?
No, on the contrary. I think our very first screening, we had some 3-star and 4-star generals, and we had some people in the military, and then we had just friends and family. Not that much family, just friends. And almost to a person, they thanked me for the ending. And one of them said, I'm so happy you didn't digress into nuclear porn.
Fabulous.
So there was a kind of collective dignity in their response, and
fabulous.
And I think it would have been too easy, and it absolves us. We are responsible. We are the villain in a way.
Of course.
We are the bad guy. We have these weapons and we're doing nothing about it.
Yeah. I had some weird hope that you would sit here tonight and tell me that you didn't tell us about the kill switch, that there actually is a thing that you just go like this. Yeah, don't worry, and you unplug it, and it's in the White House Situation Room, and then nothing of this happens. This is probably it, right? 61%. I have a feeling you researched that. 61% likelihood that, by the way, I was like, oh, that's not bad. It's an F, but it's not bad. 61 is better than 50. But clearly you're talking to all of these technical advisors. Well, what are they responding to you? Aren't they saying, because you're saying this is catastrophic, and what are they saying? Like, yeah, it is. Or are they actually saying like, well, actually cooler heads would prevail, or we have this in place? Because that was what they argued with Lumet and Kubrick. When the films were made in the 60s, the military got very angry. And they said, oh, well, that would never happen because, Sterling Hayden being nuts, that we would have this protocol and that protocol. I get the sense that there's nothing like that in the people you talked with, that this would actually happen.
Well, those are the exact percentages, and that's what was spent.
That's really, really, really nice.
But also the fact that the president has sole authority.
Yeah.
There's nobody else who can make that decision as the system exists today.
Makes me feel great right now. It's excellent. Very stable individuals running the country. It's excellent.
But so
I threw you, didn't I? You can't recover from that one.
I will.
But they didn't. But there's no words of encouragement.
But they don't rehearse it. This is what made me crazy. Noah and I spoke to a former chief of staff at the Pentagon, said, well, how do you rehearse this? How familiar is the president with the whole protocol since he's the only one that can make the decision? He said, never.
Incredible.
Almost never. There's just no time. There's too much else that they're doing, whatever it is they're doing. But
why do you think, because I remember, the whole duck and cover, fallout shelter signs and, and all that. Why do you think that it left the conversation for a while and people don't think about it now? Why is that? It was the fear we grew up with, right? What happened?
That's a good question. I think because it was not on top of mind, but it's kind of circled back and is becoming on top of mind. Between the Ukrainian situation and various threats that were made. And, so I think it's not necessarily present again, but it's certainly in a conversation in the halls of power.
I have probably about 40 seconds now. Got anything else you want to talk about in that 40 seconds?
Well, that's the time that the president has to make a decision. Thank you.
I think it's a great movie. And I loved seeing across class and the class of different classes and this different groups of people that were all doing their very best and it leading to nothing. That's a very beautiful idea, actually. You don't see it in movies. You see total schnooks or you see superheroes. It's true. How often do you go to movies and see actual normal people trying to do their very best? And for me, that's a very beautiful and generous thing.
But also thank you, and thank you, everybody. But just also remember, these are people who are working 24/7 behind the scenes so we can have this conversation.
Right. Exactly.
So that was a real revelation for me, meeting these people and getting to know them and realizing that they're saving our lives every day.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it is, and you do love them in the movie. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. The Director's Cut is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share, subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow film buffs find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America